Morning, everyone. Today we have a special presentation of Christina Stephenson's mission trip to the Gambia, so we're excited about that and hearing of her adventure there. So I'm going to open us in prayer and then hand it over to Christina. So let us pray. Great God and Father, we give thanks for this day, this time, this gathering, this fellowship. Thankful for missions and for those who take the good news of the Lord Jesus throughout the world. Pray for safety for all who do that. We're thankful Christina had this opportunity to go to Gambia. I'm thankful for you watching over her during that time. We ask your blessing on her presentation. Now, may it be encouraging to all of us, and may you get the glory that is rightly to your name. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Good morning. Bear with me. This was my first ever PowerPoint, guys, okay? No, as Ray said, it was definitely a privilege this past summer that I was able to go on this missions trip to the Gambia. For those who don't know how this happened was thanks to having the Hearts for Harvest here and talking to Bob Davis and all of that when he came over. He encouraged me, they always say, oh, sign here if you want information, and how quickly I signed and how quickly I got that information. They were taking a medical team. I was told it was going to be in October of 25, so I was like, oh, that gives me plenty of time to figure this all out. I reached out to Dr. Langford, who we'll talk about here shortly, and he reached out a few weeks later and he goes, oh, actually, we're going in July. And I'm great. I have no passport. I have no visa. But I said, if it's meant to be, we will go. So so this is if you see it over there, Banjul is where I flew into, and we were basically all around the river there, and this is the Gambia. As you see, Senegal is also there where we support missions through RUF as well. It falls under the MTW is in this umbrella, as well as the Mission to the World, as well as the West African Reformed Mission, which also works correlation with what we support here. Let's see here. So our team, we had Dr. Langford. He was who planned and coordinated the medical mission, but did not end up attending. So Dr. Langford has gone to the Gambia many times. He is a physician in PA. He also teaches there at the university. He is the one who coordinates with all of the medical companies. It takes a year to get everything ready for them to be able to go over to the Gambia. And it also means coordinating with Dr. Jallo, because you have to have a physician in the Gambia in order for you guys to coordinate this. So it coordinates with them, they have to get the donations, they got to get approval, and it is getting harder and harder for American citizens, Christians, to get into the Gambia. They're making it near impossible for us to get over there. We also have Dr. Juan Kim, Dr. Wendy Kerr. Both of them are physicians here. Dr. Juan is a physician in PA as well. He's a family practice doctor. Dr. Kerr, Wendy, is a pediatrician in Nashville. Sarah came. She is a fourth-year medical student that was with Dr. Langford. Under her care, he runs a Christian fellowship, kind of similar to RUF at the college that they go to, the medical school. Cheryl Goss, she goes to church with Dr. Langford. She is the teacher administrator at the church office manager there. She's a retired teacher. And then Chad Reed. So anytime you send a team into a higher risk area of the country, you have to have an emergency evacuation coordinator. So Chad Reed is a retired Navy fighter pilot, and he was our emergency evacuation coordinator. In case anything happened and we had to get out, he was the one who was going to make it happen. His wife was supposed to come with us, and that ended up not working out, but she is also a nurse, and then myself. So as you see, it was a very small team. It is the smallest team they've ever taken to the Gambia. We we were dropping like flies as we were getting closer. And unfortunately, Dr. Langford, we were prayed about it this summer, but he did not end up going with us because 2 days before we were supposed to leave, his wife had a massive brain hemorrhage. And so we went without him. He sent Cheryl and said, "You're in charge. We have to do this. We've worked a year for this. You're still going." And so we did. And she did phenomenal. It was good for him that he was able to still have that with us while we were in communication the whole time. And his wife ended up passing shortly after we got back. So it's very sad, but he was very encouraged by the work that he saw that was going on there. First, this is our suitcase of medications. We each brought 2 suitcases plus then our own. They are filled to the brim of any and all type of medications, a lot of blood pressure medications, a lot of treatment for fungal infections, diabetes, worm treatment. So prescription readers, just reading glasses for people to have, and things of that nature. So those were there at the airport. And this is my 5-star resort that I stayed in. No, this was the Woodpecker. It is a resort, believe it or not, but we all stayed there. The picture that you see there is I stayed with Sarah. There was 2 of us in each room. We did have air. We did have running water. I would not drink said running water, but we did have it. The rule was, and Dr. Langford was very clear before we left, no one is to eat anything, like you have this beautiful fresh fruit and veggies surrounding you, like no one is to touch it. Like, take it off your plate. The last thing you want is for anybody to be sick. So this is the West African Reform Mission in partnership with MTW and the Timothy House, which we speak about all the time here. It's who we support. This is one of their flyers from, they had an ordination on the 26th of May of 2024. And these are the men that we worked with, as well as the people from the Timothy House. The goal of MTW is for medical missions, is to go places where they are doing church plants. So every place that we went to do a medical mission to is one of these men is where they're planting a church. So the idea is we want them to have a place to get to know Jesus after we leave, because we are only there for, each clinic is 1 day. And, but we want them to have a place that they get to know Jesus more after we leave. So that is the goal of MTW. It's a phenomenal goal. And then those men are there. Anytime we did anything, we had everybody from the Timothy House there. Because it was summertime, we had a bunch of our UF students from Senegal, under Jennings. They were there. All of our translators, our family members, are people that volunteer at the Timothy House. So it was just really nice, especially being here and then going there to see what we support, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and just how grateful they were that we were there. Let's see. Our roads of travel. So that is our chariot. That is how we got from place to place. As you see, the top rack is how we held our bushels of medication. Apparently the Gambia has 2 seasons, rain or dry. So we were there during the raining season. It actually did not rain a ton while we were there, but this is the road conditions that we were driving through, or, the pigs or the cows or whatever else. But that is basically the most nerve-wracking drive I've ever been on in my life, because you're driving through a puddle of water hoping that you'll get out. I mean, the amount of people that were stuck on the side of the roads was just phenomenal. And they don't go slow. Like, it's just, here we go. On the side of we found very encouraging was on the side of our actual bus there, it says Tene Korsan Limpu written on the front, which in Creole translates to clean your heart. So even they're doing the little things, they know what we're there for, in a predominantly Muslim country. I think when we were there, they had said that the religion obviously predominantly is Muslim, but it's like 96%. Like, it's a very high number. And the amount of mosques and things, there are these it's all villages and small, but these are just massive and beautiful. But then the people are living in these tiny shacks, like on the side of the road. Let's see. Here's just some of the pictures. Yes, that is a giant ant pile. Yet reason 500 Danny would never probably go over there with me. But also you see the artwork that there's displayed around the villages, and that's just us driving through one of the cities. It kind of just shows you like there's no real road lines, there's no real curb. People just kind of pull off anywhere. There's markets, there's people selling things everywhere. But these giant ant piles are everywhere. It's very impressive. Like even with being the raining season, I think that one is the one that was right outside of our resort. So, but yeah. So our first day of clinic was actually the Timothy House. We didn't get into the Gambia until like 4 a.m. on Thursday. So that Thursday day, we actually did our shortest day of clinic. And we did a half day. We went to the Timothy House, and we just saw the pastors, the elders, their families, and those that volunteer with their community. And this is just a picture of the courtyard at the Timothy House. While we were seeing patients, they were playing their guitars, singing, just talking to one another, hanging out. Children are running everywhere. And then those are just two pictures of the medication tables that we set up there. It's just kind of a small example of like what we brought with us. The suitcase, I think underneath there is actually reading glasses, if I remember correctly. But so those we would set up before we went in. This was encouraging to me. This is the books that have been donated or purchased for the Timothy House. So walking in and seeing all of the resources that these men have been provided was very encouraging to me, by Bob Davis, by donations, by other people in the United States, some parts of Africa. But yeah, so that's what this is where they're learning. This is the resources that they're using to train pastors there, and when Bob Davis comes as well. So this is us. I said it was only our partial day. The clinic was for those. The Timothy House is in Layman. We saw 39 patients on our half day. So it was by far our smallest day. But yeah, that is on the left is Dr. Juan, and you can see Adrisa. So with learning joke, it's Adrisa and Adrisa. One has two S's, one has one S. The one with two S's is big Adrisa. So like he's like, big Adrisa, which one are you talking about? So big Adrisa is the head of everybody. Little Adrisa is is also a teaching elder and has a church plan as well. But big Adrisa runs the Timothy House for them. And then all of these, the gentleman, Chad is right there with the khaki shirt on. The gentleman behind him was actually a nursing student that was home for the summer, and he was one of my helpers that day, and he was phenomenal. But you just realizing what they don't have in their own hospitals was just alarming. Like for one thing that set out for me was they don't have AEDs to shock patients. Like it's not something that they have in their hospitals. We have them at Barlow Park, like just sitting there waiting to be used. Little things like that. And there's just a lot of people, a lot of poverty, and a lot of they just don't trust that they're gonna get the best care, because a lot of times they're not getting the best care. So this is just more pictures of the Timothy House. This in the red is the nursing student I just talked about. He sat with Chad that day. And then the courtyard also at the Timothy House. They're all kind of hard to see in the pictures, but that's where they all live there. Like those are actually their rooms and stuff. So it's almost like a community courtyard. Here is kind of our daily schedule for most days. We completed 5 days of clinic, 4 full days with 1 half day at the Timothy House. Typically, we woke up at 6:15 and met for breakfast by 7. We had to order it when they opened, or we may not get it before the bus got there. It was not very urgent to get our food out. We usually got picked up by the van around 8:15. We would load up our suitcases of supplies and medications and drive approximately 45 minutes to the village. It's not very many miles. It's just because of road conditions. It just took you that long to get there. Once we arrived at the clinic location for the day, we would arrange our supplies, set up 3 doctor stations and 2 triage. Usually when we arrived around 9 a.m., we would already have patients waiting for us to be seen. Chad and I were in triage, each with our own interpreter from the Timothy House or one of the RUF students from the Senegal. We had 3 doctor stations set up, Juan with an interpreter, Wendy with an interpreter, and Dr. Jallo with Sarah, our medical student. So I put a note in here. So Dr. Jallo is from the Gambia. She was our contact from the United States in order for us to coordinate being there. But the villagers don't trust her because she's from there. So she is by far the most experienced, the most knowledgeable person to take care of these patients, and they didn't want to see her. So what did we do? We put our 4th-year medical student with her, and guess what? They will see her then. So Sarah was grateful. She learned a ton from Dr. Jallo, but just by putting her there, it allowed for them just to have another doctor station set up. Cheryl ran our pharmacy with an interpreter, and then the wives of the villagers prepared our lunch every day, usually around 1:30 or 2. They offered communal bowls and were kind enough to offer us foreigners a spoon. There's a picture of that here shortly, but it's just a big, big bowl of food. We finished clinic around 6, packed up and headed back. Usually around 7, we were back to our hotel, and then we were in bed by 8:30 to start it all again. One of the important things here, though, as I mentioned before, is not so much what we were doing for them there. Before we would even see any of the patients and we're setting everything up, the first thing we would do is we would link hands together. We would pray together in front of everybody. We would sing the doxology in English. We would sing the doxology in their native tongue. Which is beautiful. I wish I could repeat it. You don't want me to, but it is beautiful. And then Dr. Juan would go out and speak to the patients that were waiting. Usually at that point was 20 or so, and say, with his interpreter, like, we are here from the United States. We bring you medical care. But more importantly, we are here to teach you about Jesus. And we hope you ask him about us about that today. And we would love to speak to you about that. So that, it was just encouraging, because right up front, they know while we're there, they can leave. But to know that we're not, the hope is to not just have a very short time of them being fixed with their medical illness, because some of them is never going to be changed, but just so they know Jesus. And that's the whole point of us being there. So,
Christina,
yeah.
would you explain to us what Timothy House is? What's the mission of the Timothy House?
I will try. So the Timothy House, they, Bob Davis was here, him and other pastors in the U.S., as well as over there, they come together and they train pastors to be pastors over there. So like they were Big Adresa was the one that coordinated and trained the 3 men that I showed were in the ordination picture. I think that was their first ordination from the Timothy House, to be training pastors so that they can go out into the Muslim communities to know Jesus and to be church planters, because they planted the 3 churches we went to are the 3 villages they went to were the church plant villages where those men were going. So their goal is, and they also, because it's a 96% Muslim country, a lot of the younger kids there were kicked out by their families because they chose to follow Jesus. And so they had nowhere to go. And so the Timothy House offers support for them. A lot of those kids, they provide them housing or help them find housing. They get them connected in Senegal for college with the Jennings to continue on that. But the goal is to, it's all encompassing. I don't want to say it just does one thing, but they're training men to be pastors. So does that answer your question? Yes, Mary Alice.
How do the people in the community find out that you're there and know to come for their health care?
That's a good question. So before we came, all of the men whose villages we went to actually spread word through the community. And they said, we are coming on this day. And so that it is by word of mouth. And usually what happens is once we're there, because everybody walks, so like once we're there, somebody from that village will actually go out, hey, the medical team is here. So we get there, we start with a few, and then all of a sudden it's like an influx of people arriving. And some would still not come because of obviously who we were, but most of who we saw were Muslim. So, anybody else before I move on? So this was our day 2 of clinic. This was in Nyafella. This was Big Idris's village, which was super exciting because we were able to meet his wife, his children, and just be part of his village. It was at their, if you want to call it a clinic, it's not an active clinic, but that's where we met at. And then the one over there to the right is where they all sat waiting to be seen. Here is, we saw 133 patients in Idris's village, and his was pretty far out there. It was probably the furthest village we went away, a lot more rural, a lot more land. But as you can see, we set up our medications however we could. This was on 2 old hospital beds that weren't being used, so Cheryl did that. And then you can see where they're kind of sitting over there waiting to be seen. Right inside that, behind where Idrissa is standing, we had the 2 triage stations where Chad and I sat with our interpreters, and then we would kind of crawl over each other to direct them to one of the doctors. That is Jara. She is my interpreter. She is an RUF student under the Jennings, and she was phenomenal. She was super hilarious and a lot of fun. But then Cheryl and Chad, as we were getting everything set up. Oh, here's an example of our food. So they would literally bring it out like this. We have spoons for us Americans that are questioning all questions about eating with our hands. But usually it's mostly rice, a couple of veggies. They were told long before that we wouldn't eat anything that was fresh. So everything was cooked out of precautions. They do, because they're right on the water, they do a lot of fish. So a lot of them had fish. And that's pretty much it. But it's as you can see, there's a little bit of meat, but it's mostly rice. It's probably the biggest rice bowl you'll ever see, but it was good. So this is our 3rd day of clinic at Kubane. It was Little Idris's village. This is also where we went to worship the following day. It was our busiest day of clinic. We saw 181 patients. As you can see, you have the 3 doctors stations set up. Myself, Chad, and our interpreters were on this side because I think I took that picture. And then Cheryl was to the right with the pharmacy. And you can see Wendy, like she is praying with her patients afterward. We talk about it's very much run like a triage like you would at the hospital here. Like they would come and talk to myself or Chad, what are we here for? And then I had a piece of paper. We did their vitals. We asked, do they have any history? And then that's what the doctors would use to go, and so they could base their assessment from there. So yeah, you can see that is what it looked like from the outside. I don't remember. I think it's just a village awning. Somebody lived there in the back corner. I'm not really sure what this facility was at one point, and as you can see, there's people waiting on to the right. It was a very, very busy day. So, because if we think we're like, 10 hours, we saw 180 patients, so. Here's some more pictures. So Dr. Jallo is the one with the stethoscope there on the right, or left, I'm sorry. Sarah has the black shirt on, and then the white shirt next to her is her interpreter. There's Dr. Wendy again. And then this is what it looked like from the outside. So we were fenced in for safety. And this was our worship service, it was really fun. I have some videos I'll show you here in a minute just of the singing. But it was exciting to me because being here, we start worship at 11, right? Right at 11, Rich is up there. We're doing it now. And how do they start it? They start by playing music, and then all the villagers come. And so, we're told to be there at a certain time. We're like, hey, when's this going to happen? And we're just waiting and waiting, and then the music starts once it's set up, and then the people from the village come. What was also really exciting is that the back of the church had like 4 rows of little tiny chairs. And I'm like, why are all these chairs here? And the children came. Children that I don't know that necessarily their parents wanted them there, but they came with the other village children, and they sat for the singing, and they praised Jesus. And then when the singing was over, they each took their, as you would never even know, quiet as a mouse, each took their own little chair and walked it back to the community center across the street. So it was really encouraging to get to see that. That is Pastor Adrisa. This is his church plant, and that is one of his, I can't remember if he was a student or a teaching elder. I think he was a student that was at the Timothy House. He was training at the Timothy House. As you see, they do the hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs for the Presbyterian Church in the Gambia. And then these were some of the pictures of the inside. As we see, the Westminster Confession of Faith was there. And then these are some of the songs that we were singing that day. I'm going to play, they're very short. So it was encouraging because this is, obviously it's still, even in English, it still sounds a little different than it does here. But I'm like, ooh, I know this one. They do have a worship band or a group of singers up front. I wouldn't call it really a band, but most of those women actually were brought in to the Timothy House because they had been kicked out of their own homes. So everybody up there that was leading worship and praising Jesus were people that walked away from their family because they wanted to know Jesus more. So, and then of course the picture of the drums over there, which were incredible to watch them do. Sorry. Here's a picture of afterwards. You can kind of see in the back here all the children sitting down there. And then this was us talking to Adrisa after it was all over. We were there, I'd say it was probably an hour and a half that we worshiped with them. And it was our only day that we didn't have clinic, so we worshiped with them and then kind of went home and relaxed for the day. So this was our day 4 of clinic, Jalambang. It was the church plant of Armando, and we saw 150 patients this day. And this one, it was a little bit harder to get set up. You can see the patients lined up, and then we set up over there in triage. And then the physicians actually went underneath the giant tree, trying to get some shade, and they saw patients over there. It was at what they would call their health center, but it was not active. And then our final day of clinic was at Busara, is the church plant of Alu. We were concerned we wouldn't have a large turnout due to some upset in the village, but it ended up being our second busiest day. We were praying the day before when we were speaking to them. In the village, a Muslim woman had passed away and had requested to use their facility for a service for her death. And the Alu said, I'm sorry, we can't have a Muslim service in our Christian church. And it caused a lot of upset in the village. And so a lot of people stopped coming. And so we're like, well, we may not have any patients. And so it was just that we prayed about it, and it was just such an answered prayer. It's one of our busiest days, and people still came. Still angry probably, but they still came. We actually met here at an old jail, which was fun. So as you can see me locked into jail over there, Chad and I. And then it's actually right next to the women's clinic that was just started. The hope was to decrease mortality for women and babies in this village. They were unfortunately having a hard time finding someone that would come and staff it. So the number one cause of death to women in this country is childbirth. And so a lot of the children that we saw were orphans, and they were orphans with being taken care of by somebody else in the village. I remember texting Danny. I was holding this. Most of the children were afraid of us. We look different. We sound different, which for me, being a pediatric nurse, was like, no. But it was very encouraging. I had one baby that just literally climbed in my lap and just fell right to sleep. And it was like, I was like, Danny, I think we should just bring him home. He's like, I don't think they're going to let you get him through customs. But it was just, I remember texting like, but he loves me. But there were just so many orphans, and family members are just picking up where they can. So, but yeah, this was definitely, we did see a lot of children. I think at this village there must have been, I think, a respiratory virus going around, because a lot of the children were sick with fever, cough, the things going around. Same as here currently, but. And then here's our team. This was the team that was consistently there the entire time. From left to right, we have Adrisa, Samuel, Esperance, Kiba, he's the one kneeling down, Sarah, the medical student, Adrisa, myself, Chad, Dr. Jallo, Juan, Wendy, Cheryl, Jada, JJ, who is a teaching elder as well. He's the artist that we'll show you here in a minute. Jabali, the driver, Alu, Monaco, and we couldn't remember his name, so we kept calling him the moto rider because he rode a motorcycle everywhere. But yeah, he was there consistently with us. This was our team. This was our team of interpreters. This was who showed up every day, helping us the entire time that we were there. It got to be that it was just such a joyful, fun atmosphere. I mean, we're seeing lots of really sad things and a lot of really hard things, but we could joke with each other and encourage one of each other and know that we're all there for the same mission. These are supplies and Bibles. Somebody, I can't remember where Adrisa said from, but the little digital ones are actual like audio Bibles, and we had them in all of their different dialects. So we had multiple interpreters in one village because it would be different dialects of that village. Like they wouldn't be able to understand. So a lot of languages. So somebody donated these Bibles, these audio Bibles in the different dialects so that they could actually listen to the Bible. I think he had 30. I think he had 30, and we gave them all out that week during clinic. So they were all gone, so that was encouraging. And then just some of the other books that Adrisa had. So one of the things, after the doctors would see the patients, they would ask if they would like to talk to Adrisa or Alu or one of the, and say, they were there with these supplies waiting to speak to people so that they are still the face in the community, and things like that. Same as, and Big Adrisa is pretty known in the community, period. When we went through customs, a lot of times they will confiscate our medication. So we never know how much. We always pack extra because we never know how much we'll actually get through. So we're all like going separately, see who's they going to stop. But who gets stopped first? This person right here. I'm like, great, terrified. So they open up, and it has a paper from MTW, from all the physicians that were with the doctor group. Like, we have permission. We weren't sneaking anything in, but that doesn't mean they're going to let us bring it through. And so I was like, I'm with the doctor, I'm bringing medication, and I'm like, they're going through my antibiotics. There's no narcotics in there. There's nothing like crazy. And I was like, shaking in my boots here. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to throw me in jail? I'm going to have to call Danny. What is happening? And Big Adrisa showed up and gave one look to that guy, and he closed it, and I went on my way. I'm like, great. You are now my best friend for the next 6 days. So, but yeah, so it was just great. great. He's well known. He's out there. He was a Muslim. He did not become a Christian until he was in college. So just to hear his testimony and the walk that he has had has just been phenomenal. I did bring it, but JJ, or Joseph, our teaching elder, when we were looking at bringing things home, we had, I was like, well, what souvenir can I bring that I could bring in my suitcase? And he's actually an artist. And so he drew us each, during that week we were there, he drew us each pictures. And so that we could take them home. You guys can look at them there. But so each of us brought, you can take it. You go ahead. You pass it around. But we brought that. We all brought our own artwork home. And I was like, I would much rather support him knowing where the money is going and what mission he's doing, and then to go anywhere else and do that. So, and then finally, this is just saying thank you. This is this video of some of the kids that we saw.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
So, yeah, they were very sweet. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Chad.
So you got the materials there that you guys use for handouts. What's the level of literacy in the society like in the communities that are out there? I can't find it at the time.
No, it varies. So the audio is actually the best one that you could provide. It's very low. Most of them are farmers. They survive. They have survived. Some of the bigger villages have a higher level. Most of them go to they go to the mosque schools. Like they have schools. Like, so you'll see a bunch of kids like with their full gear on going over there, and they're everywhere. But does somebody else have a question? Yes.
Yeah, just wondered, prescription drugs, where'd you get them? And are you able to use out-of-date drugs?
Are they able to use what?
Out-of-date drugs.
No. So we are not allowed to use expired drugs. They have to be current. And they are all obtained from donations from various drug companies in the United States. It is a very lengthy process. They are going back in February, and it takes about a year to be prepared to go, because you start requesting the medications from different companies, different sponsors, requesting admission to the country. And so they always start it even before we've gone for the next round, because of how long it takes to actually get back in the country. And now especially there's been much more kickback because they don't want us there. I guess there was an incident a couple years ago. It was not MTW. It was another ministry, Christian ministry, that came through, and they had like cough medicine for children, and it wasn't expired, but it was a bad batch, and a lot of children did not do well. And so they've really like locked down since then. It was all the motivation they needed to try to shut us down. So.
Concerning medical records. After you guys did whatever you did, passing all the information to the doctor, did they keep them to try to like bring them if they have another doctor's appointment later to follow up?
So some of them would actually come with like a card of like their medical records, usually the children if they were born at a hospital. But when we would treat them, we would give, like, for instance, there's a lot of patients with like type 2 diabetes. We would give enough metformin for a year, so that they would hopefully have enough that by the time that we could get there again, that we could help them. But it's tricky. It's very different than what we do here in the U.S. because we're just going based on what their assessments show, and if they have really high blood pressure, okay, well we probably have high blood pressure. And we have glucometers and testing like that, and they can usually tell us like, hey, I have diabetes or something like that. But it's a lot of, I'm not handing out insulin, but I can hand out metformin. That we didn't have insulin with us at all. There were a few that we took to the hospital, actually sent to the hospital, that we thought that they were sick enough to go. There were a few that we wish we could do more, and if they were in the U.S., we probably could have, but knowing that the outcome was not going to be good regardless. So, yes.
Can you speak to, we talked about this, but can you speak to the joy that the Christians had when they were there, and how they've interacted with each other?
it was just so fun and jolly, and I would be like, by the end, like when the interpreters would show up, like, it's about time you showed up, like, and it's just like they were laughing and joking, and they just love Jesus and they love us, and it was amazing. It was a team like you've never seen. Is that what you're asking?
So basically being in a third world, they were still,
Oh yeah, they were so grateful for anything and everything we did, and they didn't care, and it made you realize they were so glad for the little bit that we could do compared to like you and I know what we could do here. It didn't matter, so they were just glad we were there, and they were just thankful and looking forward to the next time we could come, which for them will be February. Anybody else? Yes.
Did you get into any back and forth discussions with them about the gospel and Islam, and how did that work with the translator?
So we, the doctors did more, and Adresa did more. Me and triage, we would say, do you have questions? And I would kind of write it on my paper, and then the doctors, but we really tried to direct it to those that are going to be there. Yes, I would pray with them. Yes, I would do this, but I want them to be connected with these people that are going to be there long after I'm gone. Yes.
How much knowledge of English is there? Because I noticed the songs were in English, or were they both?
A lot of them speak English. Not a lot of the who helped us speak English. Once they go off to college or get through school, you do learn English. It's the ones in the village themselves, if they don't actually get a formal education, they don't know English. So everybody we interacted with in our team, they all spoke English just fine. But some of them spoke like 5 or 6 different dialects of language. So because they would start trying, I don't know this one, and they'd send the next guy over, like so. Anybody? Yes, sir. I loved it. I had a great time. It made me realize how lucky we are here, but to also just be part of that little bit for that week, and to be appreciated even for the little bit that we could do, knowing like, man, if you were home, like we could do so much more. It was the first time in a long time as a nurse that I felt appreciated. And I feel like I did the least I've ever done as a nurse. But it made me appreciate modern medicine. There were a few things that we saw that I'm like, this child there's nothing we can do here, but if you were home, we could. But it was just nice, actually, and it was beautiful to see what we talk about, and to see the Timothy House and how it all works. Like, we pray about them. We pray for these people every week, and to actually see the ministries that are being done firsthand. Anybody else? I think I went over time. I'm sorry. Yes, Sammy. You have enough siblings. Thank you.
Is this on? Excellent. Thank you, Christina. Christina was very subtle about it, but I don't know if you noticed, that was about a 12-hour day, portal to portal. And she also didn't really touch on it, but working through interpreters all day, if you've never done that, that's absolutely exhausting. So to do a 12-hour day in a foreign language where you can speak in very short sentences, they worked very hard while they were there. So I'm glad you could bring back as many pictures as you did. I am going to give you a 30-second version of what would have come up had there not been so many questions. Essentially, Redeemer's Missions has grown a lot. In 2018, there is less than $30,000 a year dedicated to supporting missionaries across the world. You need it more? More? Better? Okay. In 2018, there was less than $30,000. In 2024, 2025, we've been about $100,000. And that's wonderful. It's split evenly between domestic and international ventures. And then I think they cut me. Here, I'll speak up. So we're split almost 50-50 between domestic and international support. And while it's wonderful that we can give financially to these things, being able to support either with our work or our prayer is equally, if not more important. So whether you're able to go to the Gambia or if you're able to go to your front room, please don't hesitate to pray and support our missionaries across the world. You see them in our bulletin each week. You hear them from the pulpit as we circulate through that whole list. But don't be shy to do that. If you are able, it's wonderful to support, and don't neglect our own backyard either. So with that, I think we're out of time. We'll close in prayer for worship. Our mighty and merciful God, thank you for allowing Christina to participate in this mission and for enabling this congregation to support your work. As we will confess in just a few short minutes. Check. Please, with us, be heartily willing.